you ain't Sinetta. No time for that interview, dog. I put my shit out for niggas, I don't send it to blogs. Plan kill off the Buddha, not being discreet. One puff this big pops and projectiles. Between the sheets. Sun run, cold game, bring your cleats. The best flow blow, Eskimo, penguin feet. Don't need no blunt to burn. You run the turf with 10 niggas on the block. That's a punt return. Ayo, Dolomite prototype soldier with the solar light. Saber and he hold it like he hold a mic. Golden ice benders, sipping on that overpriced poltergeist spirits. Ripping at the open mic, spoke the nice lyrics like Mama moved mean overnight. Golden motorbike holding on some Tron shit. That nice neon kit is on it. The king's libation with exotic liqueur. The queen's vibration like a Sada Shakur. A lot of decor, imported foreign threads, they ain't got at the store. Nubian Kush, black top pottery jaws, 39% THC, the quality pure. Old rappers try to spit, ain't hot as before. It's like I'm 5 flights above, busting shots at the floor. Cats switch up they style when they ain't got it no more. Cause they gotta keep their product in stores to feed their kids. See what that weed did? The yes man agreeing on everything we said. I smell the mic like it's the love of my life. Don't get sliced and beat with the butt of the knife. Brother polite, I say I'm animalistic, cause I still be in the hood with my hand on my pistol. The Hebrews think I'm cannibalistic, E5 divination, channel the mystic, audio visionary. Let's play poetical dictionary, picture me burning down your missionary. Yeah, then I send you religion. That red dot on your head, that's Hindu tradition. Invisible, independent, intrinsic shit. I'll bring it all to an end with indivisible games. Charles Xavier, getting your brain. Mental anguish, a manifesting physical pain. Wizard remains to dance in the chemical rain. Breathe slow, then I'm up out of this physical plane. Got military machinery that exercise, weaponized greenery. Shine at a jeopardize the scenery, son. Bruh, the beam 10 times your distance, inclines convention, stop rising with no trend line resistance. The parabolic breakout, I'm F-16 with the aeronautics fake out. The God killer, the God killer, the God killer, the God killer, it's the God killer, the God killer, that's who it is. The God killer, the God killer, it's the God killer, the God killer, the God killer, the God killer, it's the God killer, the God killer. God killer, God killer, God killer.
Somebody said it looked like the French was handing the mic. I got that looping, damn. I got that looping. What's up? Said I was coming right back on the attack, and y'all might not like everything we hear today. Might not like it just because I'll be just thinking and I'll be kind of fair, but you know what? We is going to talk about it. Black Egyptians or the Black Indians? Who the most pseudo? Who the most pseudo? What's up with y'all? Peace to the chat. What's up, RTP? The Sheriff, Tamika. What's up, Facebook? What's up, Gaddafi? J Mill. See what's up with the other chat. I gotta open up that other chat. Let me see. We about to talk about it today. Who the most pseudo? I need to get out of this account. Hold on, I'll just be having too much to do. I'll be puzzled a little bit before we get started. Matter of fact, while we're getting started, we can play one more of those blappers. Roll in here, say what's up in the chat. Get ready to bang for your tribe. Let's listen to this revolt.
Black people, I love you, and I love you enough to tell you, you ain't ready to revolt shit. You don't feed yourself. You don't hunt your own animals and slaughter them. You don't prepare for your own meat. You don't own your own land. You don't have a seed growing in your window. So when you think about revolutionaryism, and you think about fighting and dying in the street, you ain't shit.
Killer Mike said black people ain't ready to revolt. The
It's a disparaging marriage and he ready to elope. Maritime coastline, deep V hull boat. Crack a nose turned up, machete to your throat. The divine snatched the arm back, she fine, she in Zinga. Moroccan mercenary got a line on Moringa. Ask Chief X to swing it. Go fund me to rock a new car.
Y'all know that clap.
School like I'm Dr. Umar. Nah, go fund some more guns, banana clips and cannabis, and bury it, the jackal, Anubis. I'm cool, keep them heaters, and I'm in tie in an abyss. He ain't rapping due to libations, he just channeling this.
Hands down. You ain't ready to oppose nothing. You are as a part of this system as any white person gentrified.
I'm on light. Hovercraft propellers over swamp water. We make the thoughtful think they should have thought harder. Be aware of this. Don't blink, there's only one blunt between the careful and careless. It's hard to face it when you need a shrink or a therapist. Mental disorder ordered them to label you a terrorist. I breathe elements and I found the secret. We could all walk on water if it's ground beneath it. I carry my weapon and keep my trees, and still be Hotep and ask to rig Nasheed. 6 in the morning I greet my seed, then do everything I think I need.
I have to say this because I know our spirit and our emotions get stirred. I'm not against nobody on the panel. I'm with everybody on the panel. I'm not diametrically opposed to anybody. I agree with everything my brother said about revolutionaryism. So let me ask you guys a few questions. We're in the South. We're in the heart of the South right now. Who fishes? Who knows how to fish? Hands down. Let's hands down. Hands down.
That's Sister Amina right there. Shout out to the sister. That's a clapper. What's up with you, Set Imhotep?
He's good. No, I'm just.
Oh, but you got to cam up, though. You got to cam up if you can. That's a rule on Sign of the TV. You got to cam up.
Give me a second.
He don't want a lot of black squares up there. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. You ain't no rush. So I'm just chilling. Now, like I said, one thing I was thinking about was my episode of Tally Ho with Fremore Jones. We're talking about the black Indians and stuff. I started thinking about some of this history that we don't talk about. But I ain't a representative of that side. If it's like black Indians versus black Egyptians, who the most pseudo, it's black Indians all day. Even though they don't, even both of them got a little bit of an argument that they can mount. You see what I'm saying? But it's gonna be black Indians gonna lose that to the black Egyptians argument. What say you, Set Imhotep?
Suppose the question that I asked first is: are we saying that is the question between was Egypt black and was the American Indians black?
Well, the argument of the people who say black Egypt versus the argument of the people who say black Indians. Whose argument has the most falsehood and whose argument could be most easily falsified?
Alright, so from
your mic, I'm gonna turn this background music off. Your mic having a little bit of it wasn't all the way clear. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think it's a button you can press for background noise cancel. I think it's a button you can press for background noise cancellation that might help. But I don't know. Yeah. But anyway. So I'm gonna get to doing on my build. Now, when you go back to these times that they be trying to go back to, Well, I ain't even got nothing to rebut. First, I'm gonna wait till somebody from the Black Indian side pop up in the chat. You feel me? You there?
Am I any better? Mike is any better?
It seems like the mic you're holding isn't registering, or it isn't the mic that you told StreamYard to listen to, because it seems like it's listening to another mic. You see what I'm saying?
Hello?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, but every time I turn into this mic now, I can't hear you. Hold on, I'll be
Oh,
back. I'm out and in again. Sorry about that.
So wait. So you can't hear me at all?
No, I can't hear you at all. I'm reading your lips right now.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, it's cool. I'll let him work that out. And so I don't know, y'all seen, if y'all are unfamiliar with my presentations, my name is Jonathan Owens. I'm from Oakland. Smash Rockwell casual professionally. I said professionally? Professionally. You feel me? Hold on. And I rock with hieroglyphics. And so really a lot of my study into this came from me not wanting to get busted out that I didn't know nothing about Kemet while I was banging hieroglyphics for hella years in hip hop. So I started studying it. Now I'm gonna open up some of my presentations for some of y'all who know or don't know. And I'm just going to my little Canva. Hold up. And to show when it comes to having this discussion, I think you got an echo. I mean, it's something going on now. Oh, you turned it off. Yeah, so it's fine, or unless you mute it. Now, when it comes to this discussion, for all my peers, I've been putting out a lot of the work. I mean, modern day, not one of the only ones, but I've been assisting, because that's what the Magi do. They assist in protecting Kemet. That's just what their function was in history. But so when I see these arguments mounting and some brothers not having enough information, I always toss in or contribute a piece of my research to keep us on track. So, I mean, all right, dang, this thing ain't moving with my, let me reshare the screen. Guess I gotta share the whole window. So from the chemist side of it, I can move some of this stuff. From the chemist side of it, the argument will be hard to even try to approach and dismantle. I'm saying if for the opponents, if it was Black Indians versus Black Egyptians, well, let's just first start with this term here, Kim, which means Black, which we've done painstaking work to show the community that many people in Kemet and in other places called themselves Black, right? We did. And so this term Egyptians is really an anachronism. It wasn't around in the times that the people we talking about was there. But what they called themselves, this term here was at the root of what they called their land. Now, there are scholars who argue that this was because of the Black Nile silt. But we can go into the culture and find people with personal names that scholars have attributed to this name representing a physical quality of the person who wore the name. And I bet in that discourse, my brothers wouldn't even be able to get past that. Like, go into one of the Indian languages, find the term Black, and then show the people who called themselves that. Not trying to be like a social construct or a group, but even in denoting that brother's physical appearance. Well, we had Black Bull, we got Black Chief. No, we just talking about in Kemet, they would call themselves Kim and nothing else. Now, again, we do have the Black Bull in Kemet and other things like that, but that's not what we're addressing. That was just stage one that we showed them actually literally using, and we can see in various places here right now, not even talking about humans. You see, they don't put any other determinatives around this one icon. So they're making it really simple that when you just see this, you could think black. This is why ain't nobody on the opposite side even gonna pop in, because I'm started too early. Let me stop. I need to, because they know what they in for, right? And so if I start already shadow boxing do around the ring, they ain't gonna walk into the gym. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna let that be what that be. Let me see what the chat do. Let me know if y'all want me. All right, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good, Miko. And I would not. I love to hear all of those attestations. But what we really want to do is see if the scholars say that this was attributed to their physical appearance. Because I could talk about Blackbeard. That was a white boy. You feel me? So just because black was there, don't mean that got nothing to do with their appearance. What I'm saying is the scholars have concluded in these instances that these names represented physical attributes of the people who we call now Egyptians. Now, not to mention, we on the continent of Africa. And they did some anthropological dissections in the taxonomy of people in the area. So we got right, quote unquote, bordering, even though the Nile goes all the way out the Delta, the region of some people called Nilotic Negroes is going to stop right about when you start roaming in the Kemet. It's funny how they do these things. But nevertheless, who are see, when they say Nilotic, we know that's short for a longer anthropological term. Nilotic Negroes. So when they talk about Nilotic Negroes, who are they talking about now? My brothers who representing for the Indians, do not be bashful or shy. Please feel free to click the link. You see what I'm saying? Because you can disseminate information and we can have a healthy discourse that can help people coming from both sides of the situation.
You can hear me clearly, Smash?
I hear you clear. You got me?
Yeah. Just making sure it's good now.
Yeah, I hear you. Definitely. Word out.
But in response to what you had asked me earlier, because I don't know, I'm not super well versed in American history, and I know that some of the American ADOS get kind of upset when anybody who is not American ADOS talks about American history. I can't say for certain that people who are called black today have no ancestry from the American Indians, but I certainly think it is a more reasonable claim to make that they have black Africans, Negroes, Nilotics. There's some other words that they would have used for us inside of Egypt than to state that there was African phenotype, Congoloid, whatever, looking Africans on the American continent before, and that they are the people who were enslaved in America. I don't know. I think Black Egypt is easier to prove, or at least a more valid claim to make.
I would say I definitely think it's more easier to prove. Anyone with contentions to raise or anyone with information to posit on the opposite side should simply just come in. Because I'm not even looking for no No, I'm not even about to. I want people who want to dialogue on it. I don't want to read people who want to write some shit and ain't got no information. When I'm putting shit like
Um,
this on the screen that they can't even fathom or discredit. Look, pseudos can't even discredit this. If you don't got the prowess to discredit this, shut up. Straight up. If you don't got the savvy or the prowess to discredit what you see on the screen right here, let's start with a big fat shut up. Just smash Rock Wellington in the building. I've been knocking down pseudo Indians since people in my family talking about they had good hair. You feel me? Like, what is you talking about? So you got the right one today. If you feel like coming up in here, come up in here. Not just shut up because you a punk because you scared to dialogue. You ain't got no facts, no information. Ain't nobody thrilled off your Twitter thumbs. You just an avatar. You got to show your face in here. What that mean right there? That's another Kim, but this for a crown. That definition was for a
so that's
crown.
the red crown.
Yeah, basically, it was just showing that. Yeah, because this other really wound up meaning lower. You feel me? It's like under, and so yeah, exactly. But
Somebody just dropped in the chat why you Hotep scared of debate. So I think El Negro is waiting to come on the.
oh yeah, he could get in. Shout out to El Negro. You just got to show your face. It's all good. And whenever you feel like doing that, it's all good. No worries. Peace to El Negro. What's up with it?
What up?
Hold on. I gotta remove you because I said you gotta show your face. You feel me? That's not my rule. That's just Sinetta TV. So that's what the rules is of the house. You gotta show your face. If you can't do that, we have to get back at you.
So Smash, let me see if I could hopefully not divert you, but turn it back on you for a second, right? How do you feel about the assertion by, let me just say people, I ain't trying to label them, people that when Europeans arrived in America, they had people who looked like what we would call black people.
So what?
How do you feel about the assertion that when Europeans came to the Americas, they had people looking like what we just call today black people?
When the Europeans came to the Americas, I mean, it depends on what you call people looking like black people. Like some Indians could have been dark skinned, but people is saying that these Africans who look like me was them. They just being fanciful. Now, I don't want. There is a place where they could be getting confused in history because there is some truth. I think El Negro. I hope you know your camera still ain't sharing right now. Maybe you think it's sharing, but your camera ain't sharing right now. So I mean, and that's just the rules of the house. And so they could just be getting confused by some things that happened in 1800s American history, and then taking some of those true lineages of black people who was really mixing with Indians, and even a little bit before that, and trying to just act like Hellenize it, so to speak. To say, oh, it was always us, we was always there. You know what I'm saying? And we was them and they was us type thing. And so when I even was talking about brothers in the it was brothers in the 1800s before America owned California who they even discovered gold. A lot of the gold out west was discovered by black people before the gold rush of 1849, and we could go into that. So you have to question or ask or say to yourself whether or not some of these brothers was actually having to been mixing with some of the Indians who was out there, because slavery had not reached the West, right? Slavery had not reached the West, and the brothers was making it to the California one was owned by Mexico long before, well, not long before, but I can show you land grants in 1844 that I like to talk about to brothers in that area, to black people. And so I would assume that, well, if some Mexicans just gave a land grant to some black people in 1844, they didn't know who was all on that land in different places. I mean, they gave William Alexander Leidensdorf 35,000 acres of California. You feel me?
That's a lot, bro.
Exactly. And this is before we had this technology to patrol that type of land and before America owned California. So I'm saying from that time period on, you know, some blacks and some Indians was mixing because that's would have been the people who was on that land just naturally before America came kicking it out. But if you take that history, and if you start from right there and saying some black Indian stuff, you wouldn't find as much contention with me. But when they start going back to the old times and getting it in like that, then I start being like, y'all tripping, y'all messing it up. Peace to the I'm sorry, my eyes can't even see your name right now, but thanks
Political
for joining.
plug.
It's Damo. It's Damo.
Damo. Oh, Damo, what's up? I need my glasses.
Hey,
That's why I've been messing up when I be chatting and trolling. I paid for some glasses, but I didn't got them in readers, so I need to go get some more. But what's up with you?
Man, all right. So listen, man. I've been chilling. I've been listening to the dialogue, listening to the conversation. And oddly enough, I find myself on the side of in this particular conversation. I would argue that it's easier to prove the black Indian perspective from the position that you just argued, though. Like I got my degree from Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying, from OU. So I know black Indians. You feel me? That's why this whole conversation is odd to me, because like with all the black Indians that I was around, like it was never, are we not African?
So when I said the perspective that I took, did you mean my preamble that I just said that from 1840 and from the 1800s? Yeah, so we will find a lot of agreements there, and I was saying that's where the brothers need to stick with that. But when when you start going into the, I mean, I can't mount no argument for the before Columbus, and I don't know if you can with your degree in the field or what have you.
Right? Oh, yeah, sorry, like, go ahead,
the before Columbus part, the issue with that is just the amount of evidence. There ain't a lot of evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like we have circumstantial arguments, we got circumstantial evidence that we make, that Van Sertima makes, and that a lot of the early scholars attempt to utilize to make their argument. It's just from the standpoint of what we from like whether it's like a historical method or archaeological method, like what we willing to put the stamp on and say like this is an official claim. It ain't enough of that, right? So like the claim before Columbus, like I just kind of let that be what it is. But the one thing that we know is that that there was kinship, even though that there was some anti-blackness that we saw amongst indigenous Native American groups. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my niggas I went to school with, whole nigga grew up east side Oklahoma City. Shit, he had Indian plates like on his Bronco while we was at school. So like we know that them relationships exist. The problem is that the people that's making that argument are making ridiculous arguments, and they're using ridiculous claims in an attempt to say that there's this relationship with Native American ancestry. But where I actually push back on and I hate phrasing it like this, and I'm only doing it from an academic standpoint because I understand
that's make the show good.
I want to let niggas know I understand, and we cool with saying niggas on here, right? I know some.
I don't know how I do. I think that's profanity too, but we ain't
okay.
I chill.
We ain't being he said nigga.
Yeah, but we ain't being over it. I think so. This is how I address it. There's a difference between profanities and vulgarities. And if somebody just say, "Oh, I ain't with that shit," that's different than just being like, "Fuck all that." That's what we try. I did it while trying to show an example, but
right.
I mean,
I try to keep it cool.
We don't want no vulgarities. That's not appropriate.
Yeah. But here's the thing though. So like I understand why there's a desire for black people to attach who we are, our title, our name, like our race, you know what I'm saying, onto like the great ancients of Africa, right? Because we are a group of people who we live in a society where we are routinely denigrated. You know what I mean? So it's like, of course, like these great things that are a part of the societies that reflect the continent that we originally came from, we want to be a part of that, right? Here's where I push back against the idea of Black Egypt, though, is because the one thing that it assumes that's like kind of natural and worldwide is the concept of race that we function under. Because like what you show Smash. Hold on, like what you showed.
Yeah, but
yeah, let's get it. What you showed was that there was use and reference to the term Black as it related to the people of ancient Kemet. The question that I have for you and the brother here is, did the ancient people of Kemet call themselves Black, one, as a primary term, primary usage, like we do as our race in the United States, and two, did they do it under the same context? Because we could argue the different meanings and the different relationships with the color Black in ancient Egypt, like as it like Blackness related to godlyhood, or Blackness related to fertility. So like all of these other concepts, right? But the question that I'm asking y'all is, are you arguing that they called themselves Black the same way we call ourselves Black today?
Yeah,
Smash, could I answer that?
Real quick, and I just wanted to get it in. I would say first no to both of those, and I'll let Seth get in, because the reason why I'll let you know why is because in all of my presentations, or the majority of them, besides when I was mounting the arguments for other people, I simply want us to stick to one thing when we talk about Blackness: physical appearance. You see, because that's the only thing that really actually, everything else don't go back into history. Like the white people's denotation, the way we see ourselves as Black now, it would not go all the way back into history, because there's a lot of social constructs that affect that. And so some of the scholarship on the matter don't address the other ways that we could address the argument. And to simplify the argument, and because we really asking, was they Black or not? We're not asking, was they like, you know what I'm saying? When we ask that question, we are asking, at least me, I think we're asking a physical appearance question. So even with the Black Indians, I'm not even saying like, yo,
physical appearance don't mean you African. You can be Black and not be an African, bro.
Exactly.
So if you going off physical appearance,
but we're dealing with the African continent.
But I'm saying,
so
people here are not African though.
So what you're proposing, you're right. But what you're proposing would be a lot less likely that you would be Black on the continent, this color, when we didn't have any racial constructs, and you were described as this and you wasn't what we talking about. So that's more.
Well, where in the ancient days they didn't identify people as color. They came from the foreigner. They came from the white man.
That's what I'm saying. I got primaries on the screen.
Yeah,
let me show you
that ain't true.
So this is what I'm trying to show y'all. When we do this type of stuff, we can't.
Hey, Smash, I do want to say emotive.
But I'm saying, with me making that point, I'm trying to make you understand that it was white folk in Egypt too. Like,
nobody.
You can't make a people. You can't make a people who ain't. No. Listen to what I'm saying. You got to hear me out so you understand what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is every continent is every color on every continent. It ain't never been a time where one color is the whole damn continent.
That's not
so
true.
You got to understand how the ancients lived. Yes, it is, bro. Well, you can look on the walls and see different. Hold on, can't you look on the walls and see different colors, bro? Can't you look on the walls and see different colors?
So just real quick, hold on. We doing this discourse a little different. We ain't gonna do it so cut off and argumentatively. We're gonna try to do it so that people can catch the brunt of what both of us are saying. So I'm gonna let you get your whole thing in. And when you finish, I'm gonna respond. Go ahead.
Hold on, but smash.
Oh,
I won't say Imhotep. I won't say Imhotep.
You kind of cut off Set Imhotep a little bit. So, but since you in the middle of your discourse, I don't want to seem like I'm cutting your wisdom. Let you finish, and then let's get back to Set Imhotep.
Yeah, basically what I was saying was like, if we gonna say the ancients were all spiritual and the ancients weren't like we were today, because if they calling each other Black and they listen to each other off color and they just looking at each other off what they see, it ain't no spirituality in it. That's basically barbaric if you're looking at it from a spiritual point of view, to identify somebody by their color. So if you think that the blacks here are Africans, or you think that we are the ones who are in Egypt, I beg to differ, because there's really no proof. There's just different beliefs and different theories, but there's really no proof. It's real proof that we was Indians here. And then if you're going to say that Africans were here, that we were Africans, I hope you're not going to use the slave trade to prove that, or so I just want you to prove how us here, how do you believe that you a black Egyptian when you've been here?
So I just
all right, hold on real quick. I'm gonna respond. So you just loaded that question up with hella things I had not said, or hella parts we hadn't even got to yet in the discourse. I never said we was black Egyptians. The whole thing is said about black Egyptians versus black Indians. Which one is easy or to falsify, and which one is more pseudo? You see, it's not even like. It's just like
that's me. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's me proving my point of me asking those questions. That proves which one is pseudo, because the one that doesn't have the evidence is the one that just off of belief, off of theory. Well, so that's what makes it pseudo, bro. So there's no actual fact.
Right now, we at the point where I got tons of evidence. There's even the presentation right on the screen that we can go through. Right? But really, in all actuality, you ain't presenting nothing, not even a source. Nobody can reference. You just giving people your so-called opinion. I'm
just going off basically just using my common sense, right? And because you don't really need a book.
You're not doing.
What I'm saying is, I don't really need a book to get to the answer of this type of dialogue. You don't need a book.
Yes, you do.
If you think you need a book. If you think you
got one, so you ain't qualified for the panel. Who next? Next person coming from that angle need to have some sources. I put you in the back chat, Gutter. Shout out to you. But you just told us that you ain't got no sources, so you earned your spot in the back chat because you got a lot of stuff on. I didn't kick you out. Don't forget. I just put you in the back chat so we could get back to the discourse we was having before you interrupted. You'll be right back put in. Go right ahead, Domo and Set Imhotep.
I bet. Well, maybe I should preface this by saying, because I know you don't know me, I'm primarily a student of the brother Smash Rockwell and brother Dr. Reggie from just watching them on YouTube. Right? So a lot of what I'm going to say is what I learned from watching their presentations, right?
It's valid.
I would also agree.
Yeah, it's all respect.
Asha.
That's valid. Yeah.
So I would agree with Smash that the answer to both of your questions was black a primary term for the ancient Egyptians, and oh gosh, now I forget the second one. Did they use it in the same context that we use it now? I think the answer to both of those questions are no. At the same time, I think it is only people who are in disagreement with the idea of a black Egypt who keep claiming that people who say that there was a black Egypt think that it is African Americans who are Egyptians, or that we are are descended from ancient Egyptians. I don't think that's a claim that people who are saying black Egypt are making, except for maybe Brother Kamjiverse, because he is now showing evidence of migratory patterns from Northeast Africa and from the Nile Valley into West Africa. So he may be making that assertion, and if it's true, then it's true because he's showing the evidence. But I don't think that either Smash or most of the people who claim in that black Egypt thing are making that claim. What I will say, though, again, from listening to Smash's presentations, is that in a physical description, people other than the Egyptians consistently describe them as black in their own languages. You dig? So it's not even necessarily, or let's say black-skinned. Let's say black-skinned, right? And as Smash was saying, I shouldn't say we say, but when he says black Egypt, it's about the people who founded this civilization had dark skin and they was indigenous Africans. Or I should say, didn't have pale skin and they was indigenous Africans. You dig? So I hope I answered the question entirely.
No, yeah, and that's what I figured. That's what the answer would be, but this is where I push back though, because like as valid as that response is, I think the one thing that represents a part of how we rationalize race though, because race means something specific. Like Like we like to think that it means that we just look a particular way, but when you get down to the foundation of how we understand race, it's not just a question of our phenotype, but what phenotype then means for a person's characteristics or a person's aptitude, right? When race was introduced as we understood it, it was introduced as a hierarchy. It wasn't just like, oh, this is what these people look like, but not only it's because these people look like this that they then operate this level in society, that they then move this type of way. They have these type of characteristics. You know what I'm saying? That's what we saw in the early days of taxonomy, right? It wasn't just that, you know.
Allow me to interrupt you, please, just for a second, right?
Okay.
I think the misunderstanding that is occurring between the both of us or the three of us is that I'm certain positively that Smash is not using the word black as a race description. When he says black Egyptians, he's using it as a physical description. Their skin color was dark as
They'll beat me up with the race. I never did the race.
But see, but I think though, I think that's slick, right? And I think
hold on. One more thing. Also, that the black Egyptian argument, let's say, in recent days, is a continuation of the Ethiopian counter argument to these niggas could never have been niggers because the society was so great or whatever. So the only reason that there was an assertion of a so-called black Egypt is that, number one, you trying to denigrate us as being lesser than, and the fact of the matter is these people actually was indigenous Africans. And yeah, big up Kudjo the African, shout out brother Kamjivis.
But see,
what up, Bobby Banger, real quick in the building. What's up, Bobby Banger?
What's going on? Where we live at, nigga? There's so many spots.
Oh man, I'm trying to look. We trying to go over all the world. We all over the world.
Where the hell is we at? What station are we tuned into right now?
We on the Alma Rock Squad. We on everything, bro. You feel me?
Boy, I tell you, man. What's going on? What it do, man?
Oh yeah, no, we trying to see what's the most pseudo black Egyptians and black Indians. Even I know when I be saying that I ain't never went into the race. Let me come on the screen. I'm just blowing on like smoking up the screen. But y'all, everybody know I ain't never went into the race. Every time we come to clarify, I be saying it was a physical appearance. Now, my man Domo say that's kind of sneaky, right? But look, I'm pulling my work from the scholars, and I can't go past the scholars, Domo. So I pulled a majority of it from these type of works. This is a Herman Rank work done in like the 1940s, where he noted the persons and the names of the Middle Kingdom. And it wasn't me that every time he came across Kim, he said the name type is a demonstrative pronoun with an attribute. And I know you hella smart. I can ask you physical quality. And if you know that the root of it is Kim, which means black, then what would that physical quality on the person be?
There would be a darker skin. There'd be a darker skin people. I mean, this is similar to the folk etymology of Ethiopia, right? Like the burnt one, the darker faces, right? So we can point to like how people have been called dark, but I think and this is where race kind of overlaps and creates a default for how we understand people, is because what happens is we attempt to remove that characterization. And when I asked y'all the question of is it a primary term, that's what's key, because when it's deployed to refer to them as such, it becomes primary because we operate in a racialized society, no matter what our intent ends up being. And I think the biggest evidence that identifies this is the failure that people have of even grasping how multifaceted and diverse the different Egyptian reigns of what's they call the reigns, the dynasties, right? These is all like the breadth of the Egyptian dynasties is like can't be fathomed, right? But when we attempt to put terms on it like black, it over encompasses, right? Like it encapsulates the entirety of it, and we fail to actually care about the minute details and the nuances in the different dynasties. Like we call it black, and then it's just
I don't think you should put that. I don't think you should put that Smash's feet in particular for the reason I'm not. Hold on,
because I'm not putting it at Smash's feet. What I'm saying is that the way there are ways that we ignore how race is at the default of how we understand identity. And a part of what we ignore is how it becomes over encompassing. Even though that isn't, like, we as Black people, we've had to learn to recognize the multifaceted nature of Blackness, while at the same time understanding that to everybody else, Black just mean one thing. So that's why it's easier for us, especially in internal dialogues, to be able to make that distinction. But what happens is when it comes to, like, why do niggas care? Or, again, why do Black people care about Kemet the way that they do? Because white people care about Kemet the way that it does. That's why we don't have as many conversations about Western Africa and Central Africa and Eastern Africa and all these different, like, the different aspects and the different communities and language and knowledge that came out. Hell, we cool with calling the people Khoisan. That's what, 5,000 different ethnic groups, right?
Okay,
So
so
we Go ahead.
Let
me not rant.
I suspect. No, you good, bro. You're like.
Let me jump in though. We,
Good.
hey Domo, so you standing where I'm standing at? We can clear this up real quick.
I'm standing where you standing at.
Okay, so I just want to know, right? What's like? I'm trying to figure out what books everybody done read. You gotta read the old timers books, yo. I'm not sure that the old timers and they limited information, the genome wasn't mapped out, none of that. Leukocyte was live in effect, right? I'm not sure they would be, if they was living today, I think they would say we won. Once they admitted that they was an indigenous African people, homegrown, right? Culture. Once Diop went to the museum, right? They wouldn't, I'm trying to figure out, like, ain't no way in the hell me and Smash Damon went to war over victory. We won. The Brooklyn Museum say, yo, watch this. To make sure they knew it was a victory, they say, yo, that's what white people do, right? That's what they do in science. Yo, once you won, they be like, you won. The war's over with. They say no light-skinned outside people came in and built Kemet. To let y'all really, really know. They say there was an indigenous African people ranging in skin color and phenotype. If we look at the panel, bro, me and you are shooting each other if you think you're more Egyptian than me. I'm just making an example, right? If they say both of us was there, yo, now we're going to argue over how many dark-skinned people there. Yo, Domo said it just right, yo. It's like we've almost taken on the argument of white people now. It's really a white
I think you missed.
I feel what you're saying.
Because I'm confused about your confusion. Like, who is saying?
Seth, you got the floor, but I just wanted to say, and I hope Dom was still here, it's because he reframing the discussion we're trying to have in his attack on the Black Egypt. And it's fair, this is the way he's trying to do it. But we really asking who the most pseudo Black Egyptians are Black Indians. You feel me? And so in his attack against, that's the title, who the most pseudo Black Egyptians, and he said he would say that he could prove more about Indians and less about Black Egyptians. And so
let me make it a little bit more succinct.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Just so we clear, and just like a sentence. Where I'm saying the Black Egypt is more pseudo is because race, Black, and the attempt to classify and understand the ancient people from modern racial categories, you know what I'm saying, is what make it pseudo. And
that don't apply to Black Indians though, because they be going back in the Paleolithic times.
Well, not because at that time, that's when you get to a point where Black now becomes a primary indicator of a people. It wasn't
the Black Indian people they agree further than me and you agree in the 1800s. They go back into the same time period.
Yeah, you're not gonna put that. That's what I'm saying. They make a bad.
No, you're not assuming that argument.
Yeah, nah. They make a bad argument. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. Is if we took they position and actually did more of like the paid more attention to like the actual relationship with indigenous people and enslaved Africans, then their argument makes more sense. Like when you remove there was no slavery, there was no boats, white people was enslaved. When you get rid of all of that, we get to a point where that end up making more sense. But yeah.
I disagree. Go ahead, Seth. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was always like when you began by speaking about the intermarriage between indigenous Americans and African people in America. That has always, when people started showing pictures, let's say, of very African-looking American Indians. That was always my thought. Well, I guess they mixed in and that kind of thing. So that position, I don't have any problem with whatsoever. Though,
Say it again. I didn't hear you. You don't have no what? Say it again.
I have no problem with the position that there were American, like let me say mixed breed American Indians who would have been considered black in America, in the colonies in America, at some point in America's history. I have no problem with that assertion. But they, as the brother Domo was just saying, the people who make that claim tend to also say that, well, it was African-looking people in the Americas before any Europeans arrived, and that they are the indigenous Americans, and the people who are so-called black in America now are the descendants solely of those people and not Africans whatsoever. And obviously that part I disagree with entirely.
You disagree with the what?
That there was no African admixture with indigenous Americans, and that all of the people who are considered black today are indigenous American solely.
Okay, I got it. So a quick question right here, and I think this is essential. How much, because everybody say I use Charles Darwin, but the reality is, man, whenever we have discussions in anthropology and all that, and any high-level sources you read, they always preference Charles Darwin. There's a reason for it. So you just think Charles Darwin was foolish, and evolution don't even make no sense?
I don't know why you're asking me that question. Nothing I said would suggest that.
Because you made the point. You said that African-looking people, well, the whole human population is African-looking. Just variations, mutations. That's it. Like, I don't even know.
Okay, so in the first place, I don't think that you misunderstood. I don't think that you misunderstood what I meant when I said African-looking people was in the Americas before Europeans. I'm saying that is the argument that these what you guys call them abos, right? These people make that argument that the people who are called black today descend entirely from indigenous Americans and that there was no African admixture. I'm not making that argument.
Okay, stop right there. So you think it was an African admixture? So we said two things. When I said the whole population look African, I was going off of this statement of that, like the human population come from Africa and everything is very
obviously, yeah.
Right? Okay, which is different from you're saying that African admixture. That's different. Because now
okay. So I think again you're trying to create.
No, I'm not. Man, I'm not.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You know what I'm trying to create something because I just say it. So I'm actually now I'm trying to understand your position here. I'm just saying what you're saying. Nobody says it that way. No one says that it was African. No, because at 100 and 200,000 years later, no one is actually saying that.
What are you talking about? So Smash just showed on the show a little bit earlier that there was Africans in California before California was a part of America, and that the Mexicans gave a particular mixed breed, I can't remember his name, Liedendorf or something like that, 35,000 acres of land, and he's asserting that if there's a lot of Africans there mining gold and that kind of thing, the people who they'll be mixing with is the indigenous Americans, the Mexicans who own California before they.
So they came over on the slave ship. So you basically saying they came over on the slave ship.
Yes. Again, I don't understand why.
So that's clear. Now you clear now. See, now you clear.
Did anybody else misunderstand me when I made the original statement?
Yeah, because you didn't actually give a time period though. See, so you got to give a time period.
Yeah, I definitely did, but no problem. And now at least you understand me, so we don't have to argue anymore. Bet.
No. I'm saying in these discussions, you got to add time periods to it, bro. Like you got to know.
So I said before Europeans arrived in America. That's a time period.
Yes, when you start seeing Europeans in America. Yes, but you didn't actually say that. But
I literally said those words. Elder Ankh, I literally said those words.
So let me hear you again. Let me hear you again, because I'm slow. You said what?
In the first place, I was only either expressing my positive agreement or positive disagreement with assertions that abos, what people who you guys call abos, are making. Right. The first assertion is that there are people who are called black today who descend from indigenous Americans. That's one claim. But those people who descend from them are mixed with Africans. who came over on the slave ships. That's one claim. The other claim is that there was never any transport of Africans to the American continent. The people who are called black today are the descendants solely of indigenous Americans. And what I'm saying is I positively agree with the first point and I positively disagree with the second point.
How can you read that?
Yeah, you got me.
How can you
How can I
read
read
what?
what?
What's up, Cosmic Kev? We haven't heard from you. Shout out to you on the panel.
How-
You got the
how
floor.
can-
Go ahead.
How can you read those ideographs on the screen?
All the glyphs on
Easy,
the
the same way
screen.
you read the
Yeah.
English.
With training, the same way you read your name. They're just symbols. See the difference between the
No.
symbols?
They're not just symbols. They're
Yes, they are.
ideographs.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
the
he
same-
came in
well,
and
that's-
changed the discussion right in the
But
middle.
I'm just gonna break it down and we'll
He
use
think
this
he's slick.
like
Because
That
because
was
the topic
horrible.
is who's the most pseudo. You guys are obviously pseudo. You guys
That
are
was horrible,
reading.
yo. How he did
You
that.
guys
Yo, I
are
was
reading
listening to
pictures.
Dove in
No,
with
I
My
just
friend, I
wanna
just want to
explain
let you know
something.
you live
Can
for the
someone
whole
explain
internet,
to me
letting
how
everybody know you have no comprehension
Yeah.
of it.
Don't leave, Kev. I'm just putting you in the back just to show we need some type of order. They was having a great bill, and then I welcomed you like peace to Cosmic Kev, and then you just ran hella stop signs. So you right back in here, but let's let Ankh them finish their build. We're gonna go to the Domo question I want to answer. Then it's on Cosmic Kev. Go right ahead, y'all finish, please.
Don't agree
Anything
with the
else?
first.
Hey, or smash that nigga named Cosmic Chris.
Oh yeah, hey, look, my eye. I told y'all about my eyes, family. I be texting in the chat, putting heckin' errors. They be like, he can't spell. No, I need my glasses. Shout out to you,
Yeah.
Chris. It's on y'all. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted me to
So
clarify?
you said your first assertion was that that the elbows make is that they descend from the Native American population that was here. That was the first assertion.
mixed in with Africa.
Mixed in with African.
Yes.
You mean the Africans that came over in the slaves, they mixed in with them. Okay, all right. And then your second assertion was that nobody came over here from the slave ships, right? And that, okay, all right, yeah, I agree. Yeah, you get a certain mixture in our DNA. You can tell that we had, some mixing with Native American population. Absolutely.
Well,
That's
so
good.
I'm not even necessarily saying though, like I wouldn't make the claim they make that everybody who's called black is mixing with indigenous Americans. I would never make a claim like that because they wasn't everywhere. You understand? And when they started killing off the people in the first set of colonies or whatever, it wouldn't have had no Africans there in the first place. So you understand? So the places where they brought them wouldn't have had a set of indigenous.
So we're on the same page. So I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So you agree that no Africans made it over here before the Native Americans made it over here. You agree to that, am I correct?
I have no opinion on that. I don't know nearly enough about African history.
I agree, but I want to know, do Domo agree?
But
with
Robin
exactly?
Walker,
Well, Ankh
if
just
no
asked that
Africans reached over here,
Africans made it here before the slave ships.
Yeah, I ain't so sure about that. I don't know if that's true or
Domo,
not.
you representing the Indian side. Domo representing the Indian side.
I'm listen.
I
I'm
don't know.
providing
Just for our discourse.
Yeah,
I mean, just for our
for the
discourse.
For the discourse.
Yeah.
I would say that due to an over reliance that we typically have on Western thinkers and historians, the absence of the evidence doesn't completely dismiss it, but I can't say that it's definitively true because there isn't enough clear evidence to say that it is. So
well,
I'm willing.
Y'all lose to Kim all the way.
Well, no, I'm willing.
So your
I'm
argument,
willing to say,
you beat yourself up, bro.
Man,
Because
Domo, I hear you, Domo.
Just for Domo, just real quick, let me say what I mean. Because then your argument don't go past the 1800s for you saying anything about the black Indians.
It don't need to.
But we can go into ancient times to the foundation civilizations of Egypt to show I'm going into the 6th dynasty with these terms right here. This one on the screen.
But you don't.
So no, but what Domo
let's let him respond real quick.
Okay,
because I want to hurry up and box this up. I don't think the response. Let's let him talk. Go ahead,
man. Listen, because this is the thing, Smash. Niggas didn't really let you get away with this for the longest. But we're not going to look past that. That at our default, our foundational understanding of identity is continually streamed through Western notions of race. And until we've actually shown ourselves to be able to distance our own understanding, our own like epistemic basis from that racial perspective, it's still going to leak and help define how we understand these people. So yes, I'm saying that we can have people being known as the are being referenced as the dark ones. Again, the Greeks called the Ethiopians dark faces. We get that. We can see that. The difference is when we say black and we have this conversation, when we talk about black Indians, those were a group of people whose primary reference was the term black, Negro, outside of their being contextualized as a slave, right? We know that. This is a primary reference. Here, with Kemet in Egypt, we have to because what we really doing is we're interpolating how we understand race onto them. We make it their primary function. Y'all don't even recognize that when we deploy the term black, like black American, black patriot, it changes the initial meaning of what those terms are. So when you say a black patriot, niggas can't just be patriots. We black patriots, right?
Nah, so you messing that up.
Hold on, nah, because that blackness changes how we didn't understand patriot. Same thing with Egypt, because if Egypt stood for blackness and blackness alone, you wouldn't have to call it Black Egypt. But the reason
but you remember I said it is a response. It's a response to the racist caricature of what ancient Egypt was when Job was doing his analysis. I'm saying so the whole term Black Egypt is a response to white Egypt, or rather, no Black Egypt. Right, that's the first thing. But the second thing is that, like, I agree with your assertion that, like, if you're saying that if we're using the word black as a race descriptor, then I would have to agree with your point that it's easier to prove black indigenous Americans than it is to prove black Egyptians, because they didn't use race in that term. But at least when Smash is saying it, and certainly when I'm saying it, I'm not talking about a race concept. I'm literally talking about skin color. So the two terms are not the same in this question. Black Egypt is black skinned people, and black Indians is nigger Indians.
Let me answer real quick. I figured out what Domo's saying. Y'all, I think everybody missed that. Domo is basically saying that we, right, biologically would be more connected to the Native American population than we would be to the Nile Valley population. And he's talking about when Africans came over and actually, mixed with the Native American population. That's a big ass pill to swallow, because the Fakians will think that he's supporting them, right? The people on Egypt would think that he's distancing himself, when the reality is he's doing none of the two. You just would have to understand biology, biological evolution, and understand really. So that's a good one right there, though.
Huh? No, you're messing it up again. You're messing it up again.
Y'all not letting Smash respond. Let's hear. No. We got to hear.
I did want to get that in, because the initial thing I wanted to respond to was
this Master Shredder right here. This Master.
The initial thing was, you said the how it wasn't used commonly. Or how commonly was the Kim term used, or something to that. I'm just paraphrasing. And so we all understand that Kim term is actually at the root of the term Kemet, as we see on the screen, which is a whole land of the ancient Egyptians. We're about to talk about this just a little bit. There was an argument whether a derivative from the term Kemet, which means, or Kemet to you, which means the people of the black land, if that has something to do with the people. But we're not going to go that far. We just need to make a few things evident in the question of how commonly the term was used. If we understand that, excuse me, I thought I was on. If we understand that every assertion that we have that says that the ancient Egyptians called ancient Egypt Kemet because of the black soil, if we understand that there's no primary attestation of that, and that it probably wouldn't get past Plutarch or Strabo, then we start to learn that there's an honest probe that needs to be put in the place of why they called this place the Black Land. Now, when we go into other ancient languages, they never was talking about race. And I want to be clear, I'm going to have to say it over and over. I can't assume the stance of someone who's trying to talk about a race calling themselves Black and Kemet. I wouldn't mount that argument. I think that person would lose. The evidence seems to subside, because the term we have for a collective where Black is at the root Kemetiu, we find it right now 6 times in the collection of attestations that they got over the thousands of years. And so any side, you can use that to your side of the argument. It seems to be evidence to what you're saying. But what we had to focus on is the nation is called Kemet. And blackness is at the root of that, and there's no primary source to say this is because of the Nile silt. And so when we talk about how much it was used, it might be overwhelming in the side of the people who espouse Black Egypt, seeing that we got the name of Kemet being the Black land and no primary source saying that that was because of the Nile silt.
If you would allow me, Tomo, I wanted to respond to Brother Ankh before he responds to Smash. So when Brother Ankh, or Elder Ankh, sorry, you were saying that we closer to the, well, I guess you guys, closer to the American Indians than the Remetro, the Kemetu, right? At least as far as I'm sitting, there's no reason at all to bring that into the conversation, because that ain't got nothing to do with the argument at hand now, boy. The argument at hand is whether or not it had Black Indians and whether or not it had Black Egyptians. And the two terms are not, the Black in both of those terms are not synonymous, because at least when Smash is saying it, because the Black in Black Egypt is about skin color as opposed to pale, and the Black in Black Indians is about race. It's about the designation of race that Americans put on Indians. So it's not the same, and whether or not we closer to one or the other doesn't really, at least from where I'm sitting, doesn't really enter into the argument at all. Please correct me if I'm mistaken.
That's a very good breakdown. I'm glad you said that.
I gotta be long. Oh yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yo, did you really say that African Americans are closer to the natives than closer to people in Kemet?
Yeah, did you get it? Did you get why though? I didn't say, I'm saying what Domo's basically saying. So because we actually, you can look at the history, right? You can actually tell that we had that Native Americans had children with African people. But what you can never prove is that West Africans had children with Africans in Northeast Africa.
Hold up.
You wild as hell for that. You wild as hell for that shit, bro.
Hold up. Let me answer the question. Let me reply, please.
No, I wasn't finished.
I think you need to update.
I wasn't finished,
listen.
though. I wasn't
Okay,
finished.
go ahead.
And I wasn't even going long. I'm bringing a point. I have added nothing to the conversation. I'm simply saying that biologically speaking, you can prove without a shadow of doubt that there was children made out of Native Americans and Africans. But Nile Valley, you could never prove that. That's all I was saying.
Okay, now.
And is that a bad statement or wrong? Is it wrong?
Yes, it is wrong, because you can't say never. And now one more thing is that.
Get out the word
one more
never.
thing.
Okay, so just bring the evidence.
One more.
Don't
Take
argue.
that never out of there. So one more thing. All the research that I've been seeing, I haven't done a lot. Now we are at a
level with it. Go get it.
I'm gonna be at high level, absolutely, and I'm gonna keep it simple.
Yeah, go get it. Yeah, go get it.
Yeah. All right, check it out. First of all, I think you need to update your data. Just because we are. Listen, let me talk, homie. I let you talk. Let me talk for like 10 seconds.
Just to talk, though. You're not talking.
I'm talking to talk, nigga. I'm answering your fucking question.
Hold on. That's my man's, but I gotta put you back because we on about 20,000 platforms right now, and we ain't trying to out. I know, that's why. That's my man. I just had to calm him down in the penalty box real quick. Yeah, y'all just bumping the wrong heads real quick, and that
but he know he don't got it though, man.
I put on the tension music. See, that's what happened. I be trying to tell y'all the music be working. Hey, look, that tension music got it popping, but we don't need to do that, Rich. You start cussing him out. Don't do that.
Why you cuss me out, Rich? Rich, you gotta take that back.
My bad, I apologize for that, homie. You know what I mean? I just got Smash start playing Smash start playing the battle music, and I was like, oh, let me get into mode. My bad. All right, yo.
I got the wrong music going. Go ahead.
We good. All I was saying is that from all the other information I've been seeing coming up recently, right? I think we are at a disadvantage because some of the information, some of the work are coming from French people, right? You know what I mean? Because Job, you know, he was French, right? So a lot of his people who studying his work is taking it further. So I'm just saying that when you say never, we can't prove that. I think you need to update your data and get a French-speaking person to read some of this book. That's what I'm working on, because I see what the stuff is playing, and it's like more than just West Africa has connections to ancient Kemet. It's like the whole fucking Africa. That's what I'm saying, the whole Africa. So all I'm saying is that when you say never, and number two, you're talking about DNA and genome and stuff like that. I got 2% Indian in me, right? 2%. Now, I consider myself, as far as history and culture, Africa, because I am Gullah. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Edisto Island, so I can get the connection for Africa more than Indian. Really? 2%?
Point, Mr. Rich. How are you actually my source?
I just did that. My DNA is only 2% of Indian, right?
You're my source, though. I'm using you as a source. Now, show me something as definitive as that on your end. Go ahead.
I just told you. I just said that you are at a disadvantage, bro.
I'm ready to body this track. All right, let me know when y'all
Go
can.
ahead. Yo, I'm just saying you at disadvantage because we haven't read all the works from French and people who study Job. Who study Diop. Diop got a lot of people who's following him, bro. All right, go ahead.
I think if
Brother Anka, I want to get an answer from you, though. Brother Anka, I want to get
the data that way you can up my game.
I want to.
Yo, I'm in the car. Yo, hey, I'll bring the data. No problem.
Hey, so, Mr. Rich, you do know I am scientifically minded, and it's not a problem to get involved. What I don't like to do is the person talk me to death when I just use you as a source to prove that connection. You just proved my point. So I'm asking for the same type of definitive measures. That's all. What's wrong with that?
88% Sub-Saharan African, bro. 88 to 2, and we got more or less. Come on, man. That's an easy question. I didn't think a person of your scientific knowledge would even say something like that.
I said West Africa. When we had children with people in the Nile Valley, is what I said.
So
Yo,
it's somebody
all the Africans had children with Indian people, bro.
Yeah.
That was a big population having children with Indians.
That's wild. No.
So why don't I have more Indian traits? More Indian DNA?
I think the point that we're missing is we talking population. We're not talking about individuals. Because like when we get to individuals, then we can find exceptions. That's definitely a possibility. Talking in terms of population, there is a part of the Black experience is our relationship with indigenous Americans, specifically during the time of chattel slavery. We don't even have to look prior to that. We can just look at how, like for example, indigenous communities in Florida, indigenous communities in the Midwest, they accepted, they took in runaway slaves, enslaved Africans. You feel me? They took in a part of these populations,
and they also enslaved Africans too. On the Trail of Tales, baby.
But see, but that's exactly why. But that's exactly why. Also, we have much higher rates and relations and family members that are white just because of that relationship. You feel me? Like these. That's why we don't have to. Like so, real quick. So that's why when we don't have to. Look to like French works or nobody else works to understand like how I get it, right? The Native Americans rely too much on my grandma said, but in a lot of ways that's
no but. There's no but in that. Come on, bro.
Though there's a big but because even Africa cultures have oral histories.
As soon as the battle music came on, you start getting bodied. I'm gonna turn it up for you, bro. Come on.
Oh no, hold on, getting body bar. Please. Let's be clear. Well, the question here is which question is more pseudo? Black Egypt or Black Indians?
The people in Egypt call themselves Black.
Remember the framing of that Black Egypt. But also remember the framing of that Black. The Black in Black Egypt is not the same as the Black in Black Indians. Yes, please remember that.
You can't. But that's the thing.
I'm telling you that the premise of the show today, those two blacks don't mean the same thing. I promise you that.
And what I'm trying to tell you, racialization is so deeply embedded in how we understand identity that what you're trying to pull apart actually is not doing that, because you're calling it Black Egypt. Because if Egypt meant black, you wouldn't have to put black on it. You would have to try to change
the purpose of the scholarship in the present day is to establish that Egypt is, or at least began as, black. You understand what I mean? So the purpose of this scholarship now is to change the consensus so that when we say Egypt, we won't have to say Black Egypt. You'll just be able to say Egypt, and everybody will know it started off Black, and then there was a whole lot of intermixture, and everybody, etc., and now it is what it is now.
It's Black Egypt, bro. They thought it was white Egypt. They thought it was white Egypt, bro. They thought it was white Egypt. We just setting the record straight.
Basically,
that's why they say it's Black Egypt.
But the
same. Hold on, but that's the thing though.
The argument against Black
is the same argument against white. And at that time, there was no such thing as white identity. We don't see white identity to the 1600s. Like we know that the Greeks didn't have a term for whiteness, like to call themselves like we deploy that term today, right? So like so that's how I'm telling you. When y'all say, well, they tried to make it white Egypt, so we calling it Black Egypt. You're still working in the hierarchy of whiteness and blackness that was provided to us by them same Europeans.
That's a good argument, and I ain't mad, but my argument don't fall enough to Maryland. So we're gonna catch this body real quick. Check this out. Now we're gonna go into the Coptic, right? You see the same Kim Black. Well, let's look at it translated as the name of Egypt over here. We see Cain Black, Cain Black. Now when they come down to Komi, or the name of Egypt we have here, Kimi, it says the Black with the land in parentheses. Let's keep that in mind. But we're gonna scroll through the things because we still in the Coptic dictionary, and this might hurt to see how these terms were used. As a matter of fact, I want to make it just a little bit bigger so we can get this. I want you to be able to peek this, family, so peek game. This is how they use the term Kemet as the T fell off in the Coptic. We just got Kimi now. Now, if we look at what they're telling us as an adjective Black, right? This King, this Kimi, but the T ain't there no more, remember, is the adjective Black. And if you want to see other uses for it, you can read this out loud yourself. Right here, it say the same term for the land of Kemet can be used for a Black person. All right. So right there, you did it because it ain't us doing this. This is Crum in the Coptic dictionary letting us know the name for the entire land of Kemet is synonymous with the name of a Black person or a thing. Now we can continue along these lines because as we do, we're gonna find like it really ain't got much to do with Kemetology or Egyptomania. If you look at here, there's another definition in Sahidic, Baharic, and Phonomic where you can say Kimi to mean be Black. And in specific, if you want to see right here, they're talking about the color of the body. And so it's going to be hard for anybody to go into any Cherokee or any of these ancient Indian languages and show me the same. You see what I'm saying? It's just not fair. And so we start to, when it comes to the evidence and having the evidence, you're going to fall short. It wasn't us who said this. As a matter of fact, here is a collection of personal names, all right, from an Egyptian, from the work of Herman Rank. Excuse me, I said an Egyptian. From a German, where he tell us each of these people took this icon for Kim and put it on the end of their name to mean Der Schwarz. And Der Schwarz in German means the Black one. And so you might find Black Bull, the Black something with the Indians, but you ain't finding groups of people who were saying, look, I'm the Black. We're going to go to a different scholar and some different work where we go to the family of Ni Ankh Pepi Kim the Black and his family, Henny the Black. Okay, we got Pepi the Black. All of this is one thing. We not saying nothing about race. You can't default to an argument we not having. Every attestation I'm showing you was talking about the physical appearance of these people. And so it don't take too long. There's been like 2 minutes and everything you said is dead.
Everybody agreed to that though, Smash. In 1974, everybody agreed.
That's what I said. See? So everything Domo said, not true. Everything Domo just said is over.
No, he's saying something
and again,
though.
No, but see, hold on. And that's my thing. That's why he playing a good game, right? Because the man's smart. He playing a good game because the man's smart. But this is where he messes up. Because again, the question was Black used as the primary term to refer to the people? It ain't no question.
Yeah, but we already said no. Both of us already said no.
Okay, no. It was not used as a primary term to refer to the people. So when you're deploying the term Black Egypt as a way to refer to Egyptians. It's attempting to make it primary. You're still
Black Egypt
like,
is a claim which specifically refers to the founders of Egypt as of indigenous African descent.
It's antithetical. It's antithetical to what claim? It's antithetical to what
claim? That it was not indigenous Africans who created the society, that there was an invading dynastic race.
The claim that it was white. That's what
no. Hold on. The original claim. The original claim is that it was Mesopotamians who came in and invaded and founded the civilization, and I don't think that those people at that time were considering Mesopotamians white. So that's not true. It's just that white people were making the claim that it ain't Africans in 1970. Whatever.
But Reggie been waiting for way too long. That's what I say. But Reggie, what's up?
Hey, Peace, good to see you on the big screen, and I'm happy to be here as your second or your third on the big screen. Okay, so let's just deal with a couple of things. Let's just deal with Black Egypt. That is a word that we are calling it, right? It doesn't exist yet. Black Egypt is something that does not exist. What exists is Kim. So what Smash did was Smash showed you how Kim is actually used. Now, if you understand how it's used, we let's just remove Egypt. Let's just deal with Kim. So in this language that we have, because it's deciphered, we can now look at how it's used. You can't do that really in Native American languages, especially when it comes to the word black. Now, I'm going to show you something. Here it goes, right here. I'm sharing my screen right here. Okay, I wrote a published paper in a journal, right? Everybody listening, you don't read my article. In the Winners Papyrus, the pyramid text, it says right here on this line, starting right here, right? It says in the Medu Neter, an authoritative statement by a king. It says, see, this Unis stands among you. 2 horns are on his head, like 2 wild bulls. For you are indeed the black ram, son of a black sheep, born of a bright sheep, suckled by four sheep mothers. What happened right there is it went over many of your heads. The king, the pyramid text king, saying that he is the son of a black ram, son of a black sheep. Do you get that? His mother and his father are black. A black ram, born of a black sheep, right? Right, born of a bright sheep, suckled by 4 sheep mothers. Native Americans, American Indians, whatever pseudo names that they're calling themselves, because Indians don't even exist. It's like Egypt. You're gonna have to show an authoritative text. What Smash did today should go in the, how can I say, the awards for this whole conversation. Why? Because he's asking you now, Native Americans, American Indians, show us a text that's equivalent to something like this that shows that they say that they are black. Show us or disappear. Now, black people were calling, the people of Kim was calling themselves black in the dynastic times, early dynastic times. Why? We have Sabi Kim. Sabi Kim is the black knight, but he was identifying himself not just as a knight, but as a black knight. That's Sabi Kim. Now, about what happened as far as the population changes over ancient Egypt, then you're gonna have to have a conversation with us about the Tenhu and the Tamu, the Libu, the Meshwesh, the Tamehu groups. You're gonna have this conversation with us, but we have writing. You don't have any writing. Now, I'm not arguing against Domo, because I didn't hear everything that Domo said. His position, I'm arguing with the goddamn world. We have those civilizations, right? And those civilizations are all mixed civilizations, right? And we can't play the color game on Africa because we know in the southernmost part of Africa, which is Southern Africa, the people were light. They look light like me or lighter. So where's your argument? The last thing I want to say is that we might be using Kim wrong. Kim meaning dark, right? But we look at it. Smash, can you put up the thing with the phonetic complement of Kim and Kimmy? Can you put that up? Can you put that up? Smash Rockwell gets the award today for the community.
Yeah, y'all having two separate conversations. Domo ain't even talking about that.
No, that's why I said no. Don't. I'm talking. No. I'm talking. I'm not saying that I was going against Domo because I said that I didn't hear what Domo said. Right? You see this word Kim right here? Right? You see this M? This is a problem because what happens is we look at it as a phonetic complement, but it could have another operation because if you have these two words by itself, Kim, just Kim, it means to become black by itself. Now you have the determinative. So we're looking at the phonetic complement. It may not be a phonetic complement. It's another operation that says the causative to become black, right? And then there is a hair to show you the color. So maybe I didn't hear what Domo said, and I'm ending. I didn't hear what Brother Domo said, my brother Domo. I didn't hear what he said. But what I am saying to the world, based on what Smash said, right, is that we have enough correspondence in the text to show that they were talking about black, what we call black, which is Kim. And we know the adjectives of Kim, and you can't show us any other real adjectives of Kim in the Old Kingdom. In the later kingdom, maybe it meant completion. But in the early, where the civilization was founded, it just meant black. So now I need to catch up with the other arguments. But if you can't show me, any of you people, a citation where the Native Americans or the American Indians, because y'all confused on that, y'all fight out that war, show that their leaders and their people correspond to black, you have no argument. You just looking at pictures.
But I don't necessarily think you got to make the argument about how the leaders of indigenous tribes responded to a black the black population, especially of other tribes, because you had tribes that was accepting of black people, and then you had the ones that also contributed to turning them back in and slavery and everything else. But what I think is being missed though is again, the question is, are we understanding those people how they were being understood? Because again, if the term and this is what I want y'all to deal with. This is what I want y'all to deal with. If the term Egypt, right? If it in and of itself means black, then what is the point of calling it Black Egypt?
Because Egypt is a fake word. We dealing with what the people called itself, not what the Greeks called itself.
Exactly. That means that the filter through which we're having the conversation, even in the sense that we're deploying the term black, is still being deployed in a racialized sense. I understand, like, we as black people have the ability to understand, again, the multifaceted nature of blackness in a world that attempts to homogenize blackness. And because the part that I feel like is missed the most is that we can understand the distinctions and the differences among we can understand the distinctions and the differences amongst indigenous people and black people and the ways that those communities came together. That is a part of our modern history, right? So you can't talk about the black experience without talking about that relationship. The same way you can't talk about the modern black experience without talking about our relationship with whiteness. What I'm telling y'all is when y'all call it, when y'all deploy the term black, you are using it as an anachronism. You are interpolating race onto an ancient people that you would also argue didn't deploy that language. Because just saying that, oh, well, we just saying it's because they the darker skinned indigenous people. Cool. If they was the darker skinned indigenous people, that meant that the primary title that they utilized to refer to themselves, not the land, not a few different people, but themselves as a whole would not have to be altered or filtered by the term black. This wouldn't have to be a part of the argument. Real quick. So this is what I put the cap on it. My argument isn't against the relationality that the black people of America have with Africa. My argument is the relationship that black people have with race and our attempt to actually, again, use it anachronistically to refer to and to understand ancient people. And again, we can say that that's not what we're doing, but when it's being deployed in that exact instance, because the framing that we're using, even Reggie admitted, there's certain things that we could be using wrong because we're attempting to interpret it through a Western lens, even as black people.
Can I jump in real quick?
If we say brother Domo, if we say Kemet, if we say Kemet, you'll be cool with that?
He was talking.
It wouldn't make sense. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it sense for you. All right. Egypt is a fake word. It's a Greek word. So since we already have an education on Egypt, right, and the majority of people call the civilization Egypt, we can rock with that for a minute. But the people who study, and these are the people that's on the board right now, right? These people know that they called themselves Kemetiu, right? Kimi, right? Ramesh. That's from the people that even white people, Japanese people, and black people, if they read the Meta-Net, you know what they call themselves. Egypt is a thing of white supremacy. Now, when we talk about this land in our colloquial language, what we're trying to say when we say Black Egypt is we're trying to say, create a term that says who the indigenous people were, right? If you're going to talk about Egypt, then it's Black Egypt. Now, about racism, Domo, the problem is the ancient Egyptians were the author of this. They identified their people as Kemetiu, and they identified the foreigners as Amu. They did that. So we're not taking that out of context. They thought that they was the best people. So we don't have to, all we're doing is reading what those people did. Anybody outside of Egypt was an Amu. They had a throw stick. We know this by reading the language. Now, if you don't read the language, then all you can do is articulate based on racist constructs in America, right? But if you read the Medu-Neter, then you understand how the people identified their sovereign countries, sovereign civilization, even against their own neighbors, like the Nubians, like the Kamu, like the Chechenu, right? They did that. They separated themselves from those groups. They did that. So now, when we study the culture, we can only say what they did, right? But the mistake would be applying it to America. Don't apply it to America. Look at it in the situ, in the dirt, in its origins, where you find it, in the situ.
Smash.
Hey, I only got a few minutes. I have to get ready for work.
The brother.
Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
All right, so check this out. I've been listening for a while, but however, there's proof and there's evidence that the Egyptians came to America. There's proof and there's evidence that the Hebrews came to America. So maybe that lineage of quote unquote blackness came from there. However, there's also DNA, I think it's called haplogroup X.
Man, I don't want to even cut you off because you waited for so long, bro. But you just came in and messed the show up a little bit with the Egyptians and the Hebrews came to America. But I'm going to let you finish, fam, because you waited so long. But that ain't how we get down. But go ahead.
But what I'm trying to say is when you think about blackness and all that kind of stuff, referring to Egypt and in America, that is a racial construct that was created by due to the resistance of Bacon Rebellion. So the term white, for instance, meant that you was a Muslim enslaved person that was trafficked to America. So that's where the term white originated from. That meant that you was Muslim and you was a slave, because that word came about during the Crusades. So the Crusades stopped with the discovery of America. You see what I'm saying? So that stopped everything right there. So I got a link right here that is titled Black Indians, where it's a documentary that I want to share, and y'all can get back to y'all conversation. But it came out in 2002, I believe. But I'm gonna send this link in the back chat and let y'all guys check that out. Tina Turner is in there. It's narrated by James Earl Jones. So I think y'all should check that out.
Oh, that's good. Let me just ask you
I gotta go.
Wait, real quick. So which side was you on? The Egyptians or the Indians? Which one you think has the less evidence to show?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. This predates Columbus, that the Egyptians came here, man. We all akin.
All right,
we're brothers, man. So you can't say how many Egyptians came here.
Thanks for coming on, fam. I appreciate you. I'm gonna let you get to that good work you gotta do. I know you got good work to do. I appreciate you though, fam, but you throwing us off. Let's go back to where we was at. Unless, of course, see, this is what I'm saying. If you're gonna show sources for the Egyptians coming here and the Hebrews coming here, then you could do that right now. But we already know, everybody on the panel know we're not even trying to go there. But I know you said you had something to do, so I appreciate you for stopping through. Where y'all was at with it?
Share my screen real quick.
Yeah.
Because this is where now. Because I want to ask y'all again. When you say you are not using black in terms of race, right? What are you using it in the context of?
Oh, physical appearance.
Physical appearance. Now,
like the Greeks. Wait, just to expound, like the Greeks. And like everybody who described the ancient Egyptians before the social construct was made.
But okay, but again, though, what I want to be clear is that this, what you identifying, is specifically about the ancient Egyptians. Did they refer to them as darker people? Yes, like literally the origins of how of all dark people from the continent of Africa have come to be known as black is from outsiders coming into Africa and then using their term like Negro, Negress, Negri. All of these are just Latin variations of the term black. So we know that outsiders came into Africa and referred to them as this darker color, right? But all we doing all that is still is a typological race model. And Scott McErchin, in his book, The Concept of Race and Contemporary Anthropology, argues that examining whether biological race concepts are appropriate models for investigating variability among human beings, and it appears that the answer to this question is no. Typological race models, understanding people from the standpoint of phenotype, right, are not good descriptions of how human biological variability works. When a term progresses from being burnished by long use to being made obsolete by increasing knowledge, it needs to be discarded. The concept of race in anthropology is at that point. What he's arguing is that the terms, like even when Reggie says we use the term Egypt and we know it's a fake word, then why is it still the primary main way that we still refer to these people? Because of who taught us it, where we got that understanding from. So that means that when you attempt to use a typological race model, like for example, how we understand black, and then put it on this fake term, you really on a hamster wheel. there's an epistemic attachment to race that's actually limiting our ability to understand it. That's why, again, it's so many people that be like, nigga, we ain't got nothing to do with Egypt. That ain't got nothing to do with. Now, if we want to understand that and we want to read that and understand that lifestyle, that's one thing. But you cannot talk about the experience. And again, this is in the context of which one is more pseudo, the Black Egypt or Black Indian. You can't talk about the Black experience without talking about the relationship that Black people had, enslaved Africans had with the indigenous people of the United States. And just because we hearing most of this conversation from niggas who really don't know what the hell they talking about, does not mean that entire conversation then has suddenly become pseudo. It has much more of a basis in modern Black American history. Us, the people who like, the reason why we even deploying the term, right? Our understand that anachronistic understanding, that's us. You feel me? If you don't know what my stance is, it's simple. On the question of which one is more pseudo, Black Egypt or Black Indian, Black Egypt is more pseudo because all it does is it reinterprets an ancient people who didn't operate under systems of race through that understanding. While at the same time, Black Indians, you cannot have the conversation of Black people in the United States without talking about their relationship with the indigenous people here. And that's just starting from the 1800s on. You don't have to do the shit that y'all let the wildest, the most ridiculous people to dictate how these conversations should be understood. Just because there's a group of YouTube indigenous niggas or fake indigenous niggas running around having this conversation does not mean that the conversation of Black Indians has now become pseudo. It's just the wrong people that y'all listening to. The wrong people that niggas is giving on the platform.
So that was your best soundbite though. You rocked the mic on that one. It was going good with the music and everything. Go ahead, Seth. Come on, you gotta give me for that.
If it is, you're saying that we shouldn't use, let me say, the wild abos on YouTube as a description of what Black Indians is. You also shouldn't use. I know seeing Brother Countryverse comments, you're using different logic for the two paradigms now, boy. How is it that you're saying that we can't use the wild abos on YouTube or whatever, their argument for a description of what Black Indians is, but you want to use the wild version of whatever Kemetic that you think they're speaking about, and their description of what so-called Black Egypt means? I described many times, multiple times on this show, what the Black Egypt in question is and what the Black Indians in question is. Now, if the premise was separate, that is there admixture between Africans and indigenous Americans in the population of people called Black in America today, in African Americans today, then that would be a different argument entirely. And I would say that it's much easier to prove that than it is to prove that it was dark-skinned indigenous Africans in ancient Egypt. But that isn't the premise. The actual premise is what these wild abos and things be saying on YouTube, and what's on Smash's description of what Black Egypt is, which I ain't gonna go over it again, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
No, I get it. I mean, I guess the part that I'm being critical of that description. I'm being critical of the idea that in order for us to fully understand Egypt, or to even recognize like their phenotype may have looked like our phenotype, that we have to call them Black in order to do that is a part of our brainwashing. I think what we don't understand is how racism is still our default, even as Black people. Like being socialized in this country, our default is racism. So there's more work that I feel that we got to do in order to detach ourselves from that type of hierarchy, in order for us to fully understand ancient people outside of it.
Domo.
So here, I'm partial to that perspective. I'm actually in agreement with that perspective that, like, because we are inculcated in a racist environment, that the term Black is loaded by nature, right? So maybe I should ask you, and maybe I will let Brother Reggie continue before you answer the question, right? But what term would you prefer that we use to describe the indigenous African origin of Egypt when we are counteracting the claims that wasn't no so-called niggers in Egypt? All right, what term would you prefer that we use? But I'll defer to Brother Reggie so that so that he could ask the question, because I was asking you earlier, like, why, if you said Kemet, would you prefer that? Because Kemet is what they call the place, or Kem Samaitawi. Would you prefer that instead?
Well, I mean, I get we'll let Reggie go, and then I'll answer that.
Okay, so thanks so much. So going back to what Smash did earlier is that we have enough correspondence in text to show what the people describe themselves phenotypically, culturally, right, and in their spiritual beliefs, right? Their spiritual beliefs. So let me just go back and I'm gonna just show you some more, right? So we can get this out of it. First of all, Brother Domo, when we are talking about Kim, we're not comparing it to the Native Americans. That's a whole nother thing. So we cannot conflate what people think about trying to apply the phenotypical skin color to Black Indians or Native Americans or American Indians. Why? Domo, we don't have the text to say that it's important in their civilizations. We just don't have the text, right? So when we don't have the text, we can just exclude it. Now, what Set Imhotep Ma Keru said was important. What should we call it? Well, now we are much more mature. We have much more information, so we could just call it Kim. We don't have to say Egypt. Now, Doma, I was just listening to you and you kept going back and saying Egypt. Let's take out the word Egypt because it's a fake term. Now, let me just show my presentation, right? So here we go again. I have a published paper in a journal. I was accepted. I wrote a 25-page paper on some of these problems. One of the things is, in their thinking, we're gonna go to this inscription, right? Okay, so now we have the word Kim, Kemet, related to the Black Bull plural. So this is Kemet, right? Black Bull. Okay, it translates to the black herd. Now, this is how conceptually they're doing it. I made them the cows of the herd, all more divine, special than their black herd. Herd, I made the breed even more pure than it was originally. I enlarged their boundaries to accustomed places with others has taken for themselves fulfilled. Their boundary stones were set up in the grave with their name. I protected the black herd, which are the people, and the cows. I protected the black herd of apes from Kemet stock bulls, meaning what they did was they created a lineage of people that was different than their stock bulls, which had strayed from the herds. In their conceptual and spiritual thinking, they made a particular group, a lineage, more pure than the stock herds that are mixed, right? I want to show you something else. So they have titles. Herdsman of the black cattle, right? Is one of them. The harem of Honoris, who is a caretaker of the black herd, right? Okay, so then we go over here and we see these titles that they created themselves. What they were doing was establishing a concept, a phenotype, more purer, better than the stock bulls. So let's just say they understand that Egypt is actually mixed. At some point, they got a lot of people vying for leadership. What they wanted to do was create a more pure form, or at least noted in their text. Now, when they identified themselves, who is this? This is Hathor. This is Hathor. Hathor, she has a God face, right? She has a God face, which is based on a human. Phenotypically, not just the skin color, but how the people look. Over here, Hathor is Bat, which is the ancient more pure version of themselves when they first started the kingdom with Nermer, and then they related to the black cow Apis, right? As Hathor being a member of the Apis. They are doing this in their own culture. There's another thing that I wanted to say, another text that I actually want to show within this thing. Okay, so here we have Nermer. Nermer looks like a man, but if you look closely, he's in the image of a bull. He has a bull tail, he has little bot, he has a bot kilt, and he has the knees of a bull. They're relating themselves, these ancient people are relating themselves to a particular stock of sacred animal, which is the black bull. So, Domo, what I'm saying is I do understand if you conflate what the Native Americans and the Black Indians are saying, the Native Americans and American Indians are saying, then that becomes more of a problem. But if you just study if you study Keb for itself, then you understand that they let those people speak for themselves. The other groups of people, they don't have it. Was Egypt phenotypically, culturally, socially racist? They weren't racist, but they set themselves apart from the other groups, from the stock bulls. Do you at least understand that?
I recognize this, and I definitely want to make sure that I again identify that. I think that they had a word that they used to reference the darkness of their skin. I think, and not to spend too much time on this, because I do want to address this Native American question. But I just want to point out that what my argument specifically is more so not about whether or not they had a term to refer to themselves in terms of like darkness, but have we done the necessary work and how we understand race to not interpolate how we understand race onto these things, and we haven't. And the reason why I'm saying is we haven't is because a lot of these nuances that y'all point out are extremely important, but it's not a part of it's not about a part of the conversation that we have generally. Like if you like breaking down this type of information doesn't get as like essentially getting into understanding the language outside of just arguing and going back and forth with other people on the internet. And so while we can you good. While we can identify that they have they refer to themselves as a darker people, the one thing that we want to recognize is that the desire to call Egypt Black Egypt has been identified as a response to white historians attempting to whitewash Egypt. And
you're
while
correct about that,
right.
But we're taking baby steps. So when we bring the scholarship and the primaries, right, to Bay, then the more we do that, we can erase it. There's only a few people that can actually do that. Smash can do it.
Right.
I can do it. Some of Dr. Ricketti's students can do it. Right. So when we do that, so when I say this, here is Kemet in the Medu Neter. Kemet is a collective people. Right. Here's Kemet, right, and the people, collective people. But at the same time, they also write Kemet as collective cattle. The people that they're talking about is a collective black herd, and people are a part of a herd. That's how they identify themselves ethnically. Do you understand that? Now, I understand the wider argument, but that's only when we conflate things like Native American and American Indian, right? But with white scholarship has shifted. The people who haven't shifted was the Aboriginal groups, right? White scholarship has shifted. They have an exhibition called The African Origin of Civilization. They have shifted. They have an exhibition in the Brooklyn Museum called The Green Sahara, the origins of Nubia and Egypt. they have shifted. But when we have these correspondences, for example, here's another one. For you are the black ram, son of a black owl, ooey, right? That a bright sheep or bore and suckled at the breast of their 4 sheep. The 4 sheep are the 4 sheeps that we actually show to show that how they separate stock people. But they're saying to the king, you are the black ram, son of a black owl, that a black ewe bore and that suckled at the breast of the 4 sheep. When we have these correspondences, right, then we can make the point as we try to bring our people more intellectually, how can I say, ready to comprehend how the people of that land identified themselves. Yes, they were phenotypical. They looked at clothing, they looked at skin, they also looked at conduct, right? Those people are separate than the Native Americans or the American Indians, if we want to talk about them, because those, if you start looking at those tribes, they're very, very different. They're not consolidated, right? They're not consolidated enough to have what you call a complete civilization. They were cultures. There's a difference, Domo, between cultures, when you're talking about American Indians and Native Americans or whatever the case, they are cultures. Ancient Egypt was the civilization. Do you understand the difference? No? Yes?
Nah, I get the distinction. I get the distinction between the two. I think that though, when we go back to our relationship with the term black though, because I appreciate that information, Reggie. But I'm reading the chat and I'm trying to figure out if this beef between the Abos and everybody else has like really distorted how we understand history. And I want to make sure that when we say,
because they're deniers. They are deniers and they don't have the information. Their information goes back to Big Mama. Our information goes back to linguistics, right?
That's true. That's true. But I mean that's true. But again, to an extent though, that are we then saying that we should be deniers of the shared relationship between indigenous Americans and enslaved Africans?
No, but we should tell the truth. The truth is that there was a population that was already in the Americas, right?
Well, no, not even. See, I don't even want to go there. Not even were they already here? Because I think that's what we keep getting caught up with. I'm talking about the interaction of enslaved Africans either being enslaved by indigenous Americans or being indigenous Americans helping free enslaved Africans.
Well, there's 2 parts to it, and so let's just deal with it. Native American tribes fought in the Civil War to keep their slaves, right?
Some.
Now some, that is a fact.
We got to be fair. Some.
Well,
not all Native American tribes, right? Because I think that we definitely got to identify that there were Native American tribes that were co-opted. Those were the civilized tribes, right? They were co-opted. But at the same time, you had many indigenous groups that helped them with the Underground Railroad, right? Like so.
Well, see, now what happens is that's good that you bring this up. So I agree with you that now we have to go through the history of America. We know that 5 of the major tribes fought in the Confederate War to keep their slaves. Now we know that some may have helped. There may have been a relationship between the blacks and the Seminoles, right? But that's only in that area. The majority of them fought to keep their slaves. The majority of them. Why? Because we have the records of the Native Americans that had slaves that fought in the Civil War with white folks to keep their slaves. We have much more evidence of that, Brother Domo, than to say that some Native Americans had good relationships with black folks. We have more relationship that blood was spilled for keeping slaves.
Well, I think though that's what we kind of got to call into question whose narrative we rely on, and why it's important that we don't just dismiss grandma and them, because again, like, we can identify those quote unquote civilized tribes because of their relationship with the people that ended up telling the story, like the winners, right? Like it's countless stories of whole native populations that was wiped out from the annals of history because of their relationship with Africans, or with helping free enslaved Africans, because it worked against the current economic system at that time. So we can't simply rely on the evidence that's available. Again, I'm not saying to dismiss that evidence, but when we're asking for conversations about groups at a time where genocide was prevalent, whether or not their story was told accurately in history, we can definitely call that into question. And so that's why I would make the argument that even without the same amount of evidence that we see with the civilized tribes being reflected in American history, there was untold stories of groups that was completely wiped out because of what they was willing to do to help enslaved Africans and fight back against the colonizer.
But then you're right. The history is wiped out. And so if the history does not exist, then all you can just do is make up stories that they existed because you think they existed. But this is evidence-based, Brother Domo.
No, I agree. I agree. But it's not. We're not making it up when we can see evidence of it happening. So it's the only question. It's not a question of whether or not it happened. It's a question of to degree. To what extent did indigenous Americans fight back against the institutions of slavery? And when we asking who are we relying upon to tell us that extent and their involvement, then that's when, because as much as I'm with being evidence-based, I think that's where a lot of things have to start. But I'm also with calling into question the basis of a lot of these sources, because we have to ask who is telling these stories. And when it comes to historical narratives, we are limited as people of color in what evidence we can rely on, and the viability of it for the purposes that we trying to serve. Because shit, it's like, who is going to be the main person that says, I'm going to make sure to document all of these groups of people that was willing to fight for enslaved Africans, knowing that once those people are documented, it's easier to wipe them out, right? That's why them stories don't get told. Like it's the same amount of stories of untold lynchings, untold names of people who got caught up with shit that there is no reflection, there's no incentive to even understand them stories.
Right. But what you're doing is you already created a bullseye that those things existed, right? And I'm saying that I'm just saying that my eyesight is bad. I'm not going to hit that target because I don't agree that those relationships were the majority relationships, right? The first insurrection in the Americas was in St. Thomas. Who fought that war? Native Americans in St. Thomas and Africans who were human trafficked. They bonded together to fight the white man, right? In that relationship, there was two groups of people separate that had a agenda, right, for freedom, right? So then that story in Americas began, where Africans and Native Americans are joining forces because of the treatment of the enslavers. Now, there are other stories where, as Africans who ran away to Aboriginal or indigenous areas, and they were taken in. Now, how they were taken in? Some they were taken in, but they were never taken in as equals because people don't give up their sovereignty. So they were taken in. Now, some of the women may have had children, mixed children. We have that relationship, right? And some of the people were taken in to be slaves. Why? Because Native Americans often enslaved the other tribes of Native Americans before the African got here, right? The Native American and Aboriginal populations had their own problems of sacrifice, homosexual, same-sex relationships, right? And food supplies and a number of things. The reason for sacrificing was simply there wasn't enough food supply. The reason for same sex was to slow the population down so that they can have their so-called pleasures of sex without procreating. So we have the Moche. We have so much evidence from the Moche people, right, who seem to be brown, right, having same-sex relationships. But I understand how it got into it because of the food supply and the water supply, right? They couldn't supply all of these mouths to be fed, so some of them had to be given to their creator as a tribute for more rain and for more food, right? That's what early people do. So we have those relationships. Then we have the relationships coming up to white slavery as it increased in America, because of the cotton gin, right? So cotton became a major commerce to be sold, and the cotton gin helped produce more cotton for America and for England. Now we have so we have those relationships, but now I happen to be a person of African descent. I don't have that much, if any, relationships with Native Aboriginal Americans, but I may have some. But the majority of my family line, probably the majority of your family line, the majority of Smash's family line, and everybody else's family line is a majority of African descent. Yes, we have relationships with the Native Americans or the American Indians, but those were just relationships. We had our own sovereignty. So when we conflate Native American, right, now with this thing of studying Africa, that is two different things, and we should put it in a capsule. But people are trying to conflate it so much to say that there were no slave ships, and God damn it, if you say that you can't find a slave ship, right? If you can't find a slave ship, then I want to see all those goddamn teepees. I want to see those damn teepees, right? So
yeah, I ain't gonna make that argument.
yeah. But those arguments that they come out, where the slave ships, brother Reggie? Where the slave ships, nigga? I want to see the damn teepees, right? I want to see the 1400, 1500, 1600, right? BC teepees. And if we look at the archaeological record of the Aboriginal Americans and the Native Americans, we have people living in mountains and cliffs, right? We have hunter and gatherer type populations where people pack up and move with teepees, right? We do have civilizations largely in South America, not in North America, of great structures. And then we have the mounds. What's the purpose of a damn mound? What's the purpose of a mound? To bury a king? What is the purpose? Why is a mound of pyramids? What's the goddamn purpose of a damn mound? Right? When I need a real Native American who speaks the language, who tells me what the authorship of the mound is, right? And the purpose. I don't need no Black American telling me what Big Mama say. I don't want that. I want to know from the indigenous populations, and these people who call themselves indigenous don't speak the language, don't live on the land, dress like Black Americans, play basketball, football, right? Do rap, wear gold fronts, do everything that's in the popular culture of Black Americans, but then now they saying they Native Americans because they add some goddamn feathers. I'll stop.
Okay, so I do want to kind of point to, you can go put my screen back up. Smash. So I don't make any argument about slavery not happening. I recognize my African ancestry. My genealogy confirms my African ancestry. I also have Native American ancestry. But what I think is more important to recognize is like Brother Reggie and I was going back and forth about the existence of the evidence in a lot of the mainstream conversation that we hear about things like the Underground Railroad and the Black experience. But like I said, we can't talk about Black people. We can't talk about slavery and the Black experience without talking about our relationship with Indigenous Americans. This shit is far from pseudo. So as it says here, in spite of absence of Native Americans in the historiography of the Underground Railroad, a scattered documentary record exists to demonstrate that freedom seekers received significant assistance from Indians in the pre-Civil War Midwest. There are at least 5 major evidence of this interaction. The first of these evidence is simple geography. Tia Miles, who has written extensively about African-American, Native American interaction, not Dane Calloway, notes that the routes that escaping slaves took went by Native communities. Examples abound, especially in the lower Midwest. The Michigan Road, a major thoroughfare for freedom seekers making their way through central Indiana, ran through or past dozens of Potawatomi villages north of the Wabash. It goes on to say here that from about 1800 to 1843, a maroon community of sorts existed at Negro Town in the heart of Wyandotte Grand Reserve on the Sandusky River. It was peopled by runaway slaves from Kentucky or Western Virginia who had followed the Scioto Trail northward. So we have a geological record of the Underground Railroad and enslaved runaway enslaved Africans receiving assistance and also creating their own communities near Native American indigenous communities. A second of these evidence can be found in the slave narratives, autobiographies written by freedom seekers after their escape from bondage. Several of these tell of assistance received from Native Americans. 2 provide particularly instructive content about the Midwest. Josiah Henson's narratives trace his and his family's escape from Kentucky to Upper Canada in 1830, eventually taking them up Hull's Trace through the heart of Indian country in northwestern Ohio. They were assisted by Native Americans, probably Wyandotte, who fed them bountifully and gave them a wonderful wigwam to sleep in for the night. So we look at journals where we see clear assistance from Indigenous Americans, literally feeding runaway slaves and giving them places to sleep. And this is all occurring in the Midwest. A third of these evidence survived.
Brother Domo, how many? 100, 1,000, how much? How much do you think? 20,000, 50,000? How much was that effort? White people did that. Do you think that white people in the Underground Railroad, do you think it was more white people helping Africans escape slavery than it was Native Americans? Now, Native Americans, now it's interesting, it's problematic. So the Native Americans are helping Black people to go and escape back into America. Well, what happens is some of those Black Americans ended up becoming buffalo soldiers, right? In a later part, after the Civil War, becoming buffalo soldiers. It seems right now it's problematic because the stories that you're giving me are important stories and in tribute to those Aboriginals or Native Americans or American Indians that did help. But don't you think that they weren't thinking if they helped those people leave and didn't bond with them? They didn't want them. The problem is Native Americans, Aboriginal Americans, they didn't want the Africans. They still don't want the Africans. They're kicking them out of tribes right now, right? They like the ancient Egyptian wanted to control their stock. They wanted to control their stock. They wanted to be pure. They didn't want to be inbred with Africans. So they just wanted the Africans to leave. Get out of here. We give you a place, but you can't stay here.
But I mean, that's a bit essentialist though to describe entire Native American populations that way. Because the one thing that I'm doing is I'm displaying a very clear relationship with Black people and Indigenous Americans. That actually, because a lot of this record that you'll speak to, because the last one of the, if you get to the last one, the final evidence is the genealogy and the DNA record of freedom seekers. So they actually did, while you can argue that there were groups that indigenous groups that attempted to argue against and did not rock with Black people, was not trying to help them. There were again, this is my argument. We can't say that our relationship with indigenous Americans is solely set up based on how the civilized tribes treated Africans. Because
why they civilized tribes?
Because white people decided to amalgamate them in. It was the ones that was able to be, because even not even all of the groups that was considered civilized tribes, a lot of them got kicked out because they didn't want to go, they didn't want to abide with the way that the direction the tribe was taking and the involvement of white people. And so, but here though, this what's important to note is that this can't be called pseudo though.
No,
like this is clear, like this is clear cut evidence of the relationship between Black Indians.
I'm saying quantitatively, right? Not qualitatively, but statistically, how many?
I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult because again, in order to have those statistics, you gotta have somebody keeping count, and this is already self-admitted, right? Not documented well, like it says here, in spite of the absence of Native Americans in the historiography of the Underground Railroad, right? We still we can look at all the evidence and show that they played a major role.
Do you see what the problem is Domo? Is that there is scant evidence, some evidence, minimal evidence, but people are making a mountain or a mound out of a molehill, out of an anthill. People are taking this and extrapolating on data because that's our fight right now, because there is some evidence, but there's evidence that Native Americans, Aboriginals, or American Indians didn't want to inbreed with Africans, right? There's more evidence of that than there is evidence of them helping us, because.
But is there evidence of non-Black Egyptians?
Oh no! So now we move back to non-Black Egyptians.
The reason why I'm asking is because again, we compare the question of today's conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Smash. But the question of today's conversation is which position is more pseudo?
Right. So what I did say.
Boy, put my granddaddy back up on the screen, boy. Peace, Smash.
That's your granddaddy?
He looked just like him.
So here go the question for this right here. Right now, even Flinders Petrie at the time, he wasn't really even going into race as much as he was trying to show in his book on page 132. The physical appearance of that dude that I don't want to, just for the sake of discussion, I'm pausing at calling him black. But everybody good and well know that that's what you're going to do when you see him, no matter where he stands. We could be in Russia and you'll be like, good, I finally seen a black person. You know what I'm saying? And so this was Flinders Petrie making this comparison here as he compared this brother he took a picture of. This ain't my photo crop to Menkara. And now, again, we all know what the Sudan is. And so I just want to go with this early time quote made about the Sudan. The Sudan literally means the land of blacks in translation. But see, we always equate to modern day borders. Actually, this is what E.A. Wallace Budge said in Now Notes for Travel. He says, ancient history of the Sudan, or the country of the blacks. So first of all, everything I'm reading is just so much checkmate. But it say the Sudan are the country of the blacks in the earliest dynastic times began at Elephantine or Aswan. And we can actually see how far above, well, this might even, Lake Nasur makes it a little bit harder. But if we go right into the map and look at the standard border, we can see how far up into the area of modern day Egypt that would be. And he says, and all the expeditions into the country to the south of the first cataract started from this place. It is probable that there was never a time when the caravans from Egypt did not travel into the Sudan for trading purposes, but there is no definite mention of any invasions into the country until we come to the reign of Seneferu. The point of this quote is showing even that the whitest who said that the Sudan was the land of the blacks said, and in those ancient times, that was all the founding areas of Kemet. And so this was a very good conversation, and I want to thank all people from all sides. I'm going to take us into our segment of giving our closing statements on the matter so that we can wind up and let Sa get ready to do his thing and all of the other things. But you know, I did put a poll up on Sonetta TV if y'all want to check that. It looked like Black Egypt putting hands so far. And look. It ain't no big deal, but that's just how it go down sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Hey man, look, you know, I listen, I came to be opposition. You know what I mean? Break up a little bit of the monotony. You feel me? So it is what it is. But like I said, my position ain't the which I hear from the rest of them. I mean, like I'm definitely not about to argue. I'm definitely not about to argue that slavery wasn't exist. I feel like them niggas ruined the whole Black Indian position. Like the whole reason that we and my fault, Zoo 221 been trying to come on.
No, you good. I'm just, you know, I'm in the background. I just had a small point. But big up to you, Domo, for coming up and holding it down. And big up to the rest of the panel, Seti Motep, Brother Reggie.
You want to share your camera if you can?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can close it if you need to for privacy purpose, but yeah, that's what Sal wants. There you go.
No, I'm right here. But I think my only input would be sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves when we think that when we only consider that Europeans or Westerners brought us the concept of blackness and the concepts of social classification. And I think we make a mistake when we think that that doesn't inform part of our current ways of conceptualizing race, human classification in a social context. So the way that we consider race and the way that we interpret race, I don't think is able to be separated fully from the way this conception was developed from ancient times, from the Greeks, the Byzantines, the Arabs on down to our time. So that's just really my point. And with that, I'll close out.
Yeah, we ain't in no rush, but yeah, anybody else want to build on their final stance on the matter, you got the floor.
Yeah, I mean, shit, if it's anything... Oh, go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Domo, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah. If it's anything, if I want people to take anything from what it is that I'm saying, is that it's important that we question and we like antagonize and we push back against like the normative notions of race that we kind of like put ourselves under. I think that we've as a people done a great job of developing our own culture and creating our own sense of identity using a term that was meant to denigrate us, but we can't ignore the fact that term is still connected to a hierarchy that serves to do just that. So we can embrace blackness, we can be proud of our blackness, and our blackness and what it means for us to be black, while at the same time recognizing that we can make a connection to people of the African continent, to make a connection to ancient African religions, I mean, without having to inundate them with the social ills that we endure. So it's not really about my argument as it pertains to the Black Egypt being pseudo, is less about whether or not those people phenotypically look like us or have our complexion or whatever, but more so they was able to endure and exist and actually be, a culture in and of itself and self-defined and self-understood. And so we should recognize them from that position, that position itself. And it means more than just being like, yeah, they black, they just like us. That's it. And then not going no further. You feel me? Because like if you recognize that commonality, you know what I'm saying, that ancestral heritage, then that should encourage you to understand more of the nuances and the different aspects. Because it's the longest, you know what I'm saying, civilization in existence. You feel me? So like at that time, so it's like it's a lot that we got to get to study. You know what I mean? And sometimes when we throw out racial categorizations, it makes us lazy. And we don't work to understand the nuances and what make people specific.
I think you're absolutely right, for real. And on one end, but I do want to say that a lot of times, at least as far as the people on this panel, I know most times when we bring up blackness, it's really a term that's connoting culture, common heritage, you know, and things of the nature. Rather than just people type.
Respect.
Okay, so I'm gonna close and get out of here. First thing is, I hope so. Brother Smash is on Sonetta Studios. That's a fact right now, right? And so we appreciate the topic. If you haven't donated to Brother Smash Rockwell, please he'll put his Cash App up.
Why do you keep doing that? The punctuation is off. I tried to edit it. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, please like the video first. So everybody like the video. So right now it's at about 171. So please like the video. So let's do that now to get it at least up to 190 to 200. So everybody like the video. That's the first thing before I close out. Second is that all of this boils down to not understanding really the terms and why people use the terms. For the ancient people of Africa in the Nile Valley, their concept of Kim was about ethnicity. It involved more than skin color. It involved more than phenotypes. It involved the language. It involved the laws. It involved the culture, understanding the history of the civilization, because they told the history of their civilization, right? So it's about ethnicity. When it comes down to this conversation with the Native Americans, American Indians, and Black folks who were human trafficked from Africa, basically it's a bunch of deniers. People who want to create a people that, or replace our peoples, right? And you got to understand what's going on. Those people who think that they're Native Americans, American Indians, if they really are, they can go back to reservations and deal with their people. But they don't want to go and speak their language. They don't want to really understand their culture except for putting some feathers on them. They don't want to really be Native American. They really want to live amongst people who call themselves African descent. They want to act like us. They want to dance like us. They want to drive the cars. They want to do all the things that we do in this in this area where we are fighting for rights. They have no rights in law. All their cases have been thrown out. I'm not talking about the Native Americans and American Indians. I am talking about those people in the gray area. Your only sense of survival is living with us. Otherwise, go live with the people that you call the indigenous. And I'm waiting for somebody to come up here and start speaking the language from their tribe, which they're creating a false ethnicity. Because their ethnicity is really Black American, but trying to tell us to support them when they're out of law. All the civil rights cases are based on the cases that Africans who knew that they were Africans were fighting for civil rights. They weren't calling themselves Native Americans as they got these rights. So with that said, I'm looking at what they have done for us. You don't see them on George Floyd. You don't see them fighting for us. They're fighting for themselves. And the people in the gray area, you're confused because Native Americans, American Indians, they're not fighting for us. African people, people who are ethnically Black, are fighting for us, right? They're not fighting for us. You keep wearing your costume, you keep smoking your peace pipes, wearing your feathers, but the fact of the matter is there is no civil rights for you. It's for all American citizens in these lands, and if you want other rights, you get your ass to and build the goddamn TP and get accepted by those tribes, and they don't want it. So with that said, Brother Reggie's gonna, all I want is some lunch money, $10. I'll put it in my Cash App. Support Brother Reggie, buy me some lunch, right? I think I deserve some lunch. All right, so support Brother Reggie, and thank you, Smash, for the show.
Word up, thank you, and thanks for making it a wonderful show. Again, another wonderful show on Sonetta TV. I'm gonna go get ready to wind this down. Everybody said you. How about you, Seth? You said what you had to say. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I wanted to just say peace to the Almighty Elder, Dr. Brother Reggie. Peace to the Almighty King Magi, Neb Kemui Smash Rockwell. You dig? Since the brother Robert Brown ain't get to join the panel today, I just had to hold it down for him a little bit. But yeah, just to remind everybody, like the video, it ain't costing anything, and it gives traction to the show, and it puts out the notifications and stuff for everybody. So it ain't costing anything, just like up the video. Give thanks.
Word up. Thank y'all for tapping in. I'm about to get ready to do my thing. Let me see. All right. Oh no, I'm tripping over here. Yeah, so y'all know what it is. Smash Rock Wellington, thanks for the cash app. Make sure y'all hit off Sonetta with the cash app so he can be like, yeah, this is a good thing. Make sure y'all take care of Smash Rock Wellington. You know, it's love when you got it. But the best thing you could do to really support is click like, put a comment in the chat, and all of these type of things when it's going off. And so I appreciate y'all. I'm about to end this broadcast. Oh, hold on. Let's go look at the so Egypt, we're gonna end this poll. And it looked like Black Egypt won 72-28. Shout out to Domo because he one of the best representatives they got, y'all, right? You know, hold on, let me see. He one of the best representatives they got. So shout out to Domo to you, and he did a wonderful job saying that if they stay from the 1800s on, they might come out a better argument. And I would even be with that argument. I got evidence to support that argument. But when you start going into these times and acting like you compete with the antiquity of Africa, you tripping.
And I respect Brother Domo. Brother Reggie respects Brother Domo. If more people thought like him, and they would have better arguments. So I'm not going against Domo. We're just going against the information. But I respect my brother Domo, right, for the work that he do.
Word up. Same here. Yeah, he be getting it in. But he was overwhelmed by sources. He tried, but he kept on having to show text and words, and we was hitting him with glyphs and stuff you can't get around. He can't go into none of them ancient Indian languages or whatever and do what we doing. So it's gonna be checkmate every time. Magi archers. What's up, what you were saying, Seth?
Yeah, I was just saying, I've seen a lot of people in the chat on both Sonetta and on your stream, basically kind of intimating that they think the brother Domo being disingenuous or something like that. And to be fair to him, I actually don't think he was being disingenuous. Even as much as I had to explain the premise that we was going, I actually don't think he was being disingenuous. He didn't understand where he was coming from, and then when he did. And that, you know, I don't think they should. I've worked with him too, basically, yeah.
Word up. All right, I'm going to close this down and play one of these tunes. Stick around. Y'all support these tunes. Get the like up. And let me see what we're going to play to take us out today. It's my favorite tune. It's just that God Killer tune because of the bars. If y'all like bars, listen to this God Killer. Hold up, let me get things right because we on our way up out of here. So.
If you ain't Sonetta, no time for that interview, dog. I put my shit out for niggas, I don't send it to blogs. Plan kill off the Buddha, not being discreet. One puff, this big pops and projectiles. Between the sheets. Sun run, cold game, bring your cleats. The best flow blow, Eskimo, penguin feet. Don't need no blunt to burn. You run the turf with 10 niggas on the block. That's a punt return. Ayo, Dolomite prototype soldier with the solar light. Saber and he hold it like he hold a mic. Golden ice benders. Sipping on that overpriced poltergeist spirits. Ripping at the open mic. Quote the nice lyrics like Mama move mean overnight. Golden motorbike holding on some Tron shit. That nice neon kit is on it. The king's libation with exotic liqueur. Queen's vibration like a Sada Shakur. A lot of decor, imported foreign threads, they ain't got it to store. Nubian Kush, black top pottery jars, 39% THC, the quality pure. Old rappers try to spit ain't hot as before. It's like I'm 5 flights above, busting shots at the floor. Cats switch up their style when they ain't got it no more, cause they gotta keep their product in stores to feed their kids. See what that weed did? The yes man agreeing on everything we said. I smother the mic like it's the love of my life. Don't get sliced and beat with the butt of the knife. Brother polite to say I'm animalistic, cause I still be in the hood with my hand on my pistol. The Hebrews think I'm cannibalistic, E5 divination, channel the mystic, audio visionary. Let's play poetical Pictionary. Picture me burning down your missionary. Yeah, then I send you religion. That red dot on your head, that's Hindu tradition. Invisible, independent, intrinsic shit. I'll bring it all to an end with indivisible games. Charles Xavier, getting your brain. Mental anguish, a manifesting physical pain. Wizard remains to dance in the chemical rain. Breathe slow, then I'm up out of this physical plane. Got military machinery that exercise, weaponized greenery. Shine at a jeopardize the scenery, son. Bruh, the beam 10 times your distance. Inclines convention. Stop rising with no trend line resistance. The parabolic breakout. I'm F-16 with the aeronautics fake out.
God killer. The God killer. The God killer. The God killer. It's the God killer. The God killer.
That's who it is.
The God killer. The God killer. It's the God killer. The God killer. The God killer. The God killer. It's the God killer. The God killer. The God killer. The God killer.